Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. First, please give me a like and a subscribe. I honestly really appreciate it. I know I say it a lot, but it does mean a lot to me. And remember to let me know how you are feeling out of 10. For me this week, I'm going to say that I'm an 8 right now. I'm probably like an 8.5 really, but I'm tired because I had a busy night last night, rapping until late, trying to get everything done before the rain. And it's one of those weird things that when you open the curtains in the morning, it's the only time I really like open the curtains. I'm like, oh, please rain, please have rained, because there's nothing worse than when you've stayed up late to beat the rain and then you open the curtains in the morning and it's still dry. But yeah, I opened the curtains this morning and it was chucked it down with rain. So I was just like, thank God. It was really good to get it done. Makes you feel a lot better. Highs and lows of the week. You know what? My low of the week is kind of like a low and a high. And I'm going to say that my low of the week is the fact that we've had the bull's foot trimmed. So if you watch last week's video, you'll see that we had a lame bull. We had him looked at by our very own hoof GP, Nigel, who has come and had him in. Now, I didn't video it because I wasn't here. I was actually mowing at the time. But he actually had a abscess on his undersole. So they took the bottom of his foot off. And you can see that he got his big abscess under there, and I've had to put a block on it and whatever else to get it back right again. Just one of those things. Hopefully though, he should come right eventually. So it's one of those, you know, it's a low because he's going to be out of action for a good while, but it's a high because it's nothing seriously major. It's not like he's hurt a joint or something. So hopefully he'll be back in action as soon as possible. My high of the week is that I'm absolutely still madly in love with my rake, because yesterday, like I do most of the mowing, and I do all of the raking so far, and Dad does the baling. So I'll go out of the field with the rake and then go and get the wrapper and come back to do the wrapping. And when I got back to the field yesterday, Dad had done about 20 acres, and it was just every single bale was perfect. And when I say perfect, I mean perfect. It was like they were cut out of a pipe. It was unbelievable, just every single one. And it's kind of because the swath is wider now when you've got the rake, and it's fuller, and it seems to fill the size of the bales better. So rather than getting sort of barrel shaped bales, you're getting these perfect cylinders. Oh, it just makes you feel so good inside. Now, this 6410 is my wrapping tractor, so I've just put it back on the straw shredder because I use this for the wrapper because it turns on a sixpence, and it's just I love this tractor. So I've just put it back on the shredder. I'm going to feed these cows behind me. You can see it over my shoulder, and hopefully today we'll weigh these, and then we've got to go and actually cart all these silage bales, because we've grabbed loads of bits of silage over the last week or so when we've had time. I've not had a chance to film them because it has been like a smash and grab job all the time, but they are all still out in the field, so we're gonna have to get all of those guys in. So yeah, why not come along for the ride? Let's go and feed these and see where we go. So we've weighed the cattle first thing this morning, and they're doing pretty well. I didn't film it because I thought you guys might be pretty sick of seeing me weighing cattle, because it seems to be what we do about every month, a video about weighing cattle and whatever else. But yeah, they're doing pretty good, and actually we've got some that are not far off being done, which would be nice, because they're eating out of house and home at the moment, and it'd be quite nice to have a bit of money coming back in, because since we went down with TB, cash flow has been literally non-existent, so it'll be quite a nice feeling. And actually, on that note, going on TB, we've got 2 TB tests, one next week and one the week after, because we've got a TB test at home next week, and then we've got a TB test at Thornton the week after, which will be quite nice, because that's our second 60-day test. So fingers crossed everything goes to plan with that, and we'll actually be TB free, which will free things up a little bit, just make life a little bit easier. If we need to sell anything or whatever, we can do it. It'll make life that much easier for us, just to be out of that regulation. So kind of hopeful that all goes to plan with that, but for now we're going to try and get these bales done. So if we really do getting these done this week, apparently it's Wednesday and I thought it was Tuesday, so I've got a day less to get these done. I've got about 36 acres worth here, which is at the village, and then I've got, I think it's 40 acres at home, which is what I wrapped this morning. No, it's what I wrapped yesterday. Now, normally we would actually graze this ground up the village. We normally put some heifers or something like that up here, but because we went down TB, there's no proper handling system, so we'd have to bring all the cattle crush and stuff over here to actually TB test them. We thought, you know what, let's shut this up and mow it and carry that stock at home, just make life easier. So actually after next week, once this is greened up, if we do pass and we don't have to do any more TB testing, we can bring something up here, which would actually be quite nice. So I imagine you're probably thinking, what the hell are you doing with those wraps? Because those bales look a bit of a mess. They're all sorts of colours. They look a bit like humbugs, farming min humbugs. And yeah, they do look a little bit like that, but there is a little bit of method behind the madness. What we've been doing this year, we've got this dark green film left over from last year, and then the light green film is the new stuff that we've bought. And we've decided, because normally what we'd do is obviously wrap them all the same colour and then try and mark them up in the stack as to like what's first cut, second cut, what's grass lay, what's herbal lay, and so on, or try and stack them a little bit separately. And sometimes it can get a bit confusing. You get to the winter and you're like, wait, what's that one? Is that supposed to be second cut, or is that whatever it's supposed to be? And until you really actually take the wrap off, you don't know. So what we've done this year is, because we had this dark green wrap left over, we decided, because our wrapper has 2 spools, but it's not a satellite wrapper, so they're not antipodes to each other, they're actually next to each other, you can actually alter the way that it puts the wrap on. So if you put the dark green wrap on one spool, it'll put a predominantly dark green bale with a light green stripe, which is what we've got here, which is going to be all our permanent pasture type silage, which is just cow fodder. And then you can have it, if you swap them around, have the predominantly light green bale with a dark green stripe, which we've been using for our grass lay, because there's not so much of that. So we use that for identifying just straight grass lays. And then we've been using the solid light green for all of our good stuff, for all of the like clover lays, herbal lays and that kind of thing. So actually it's a bit of an experiment, but it's going to make life a little bit easier, because we just make a note of it and actually we can just refer back to it, because if you try and write on it, you know, it just gets worn off or whatever. So hopefully this will make life a little bit easier when it comes to winter, of knowing what goes to the cows, what goes to the young stock, and yeah, it should be a little bit of more of a foolproof plan. Oh, and if you're wondering why we didn't have the dark green stuff again this year, that stuff is called farm film. And it's a little tiny bit cheaper, but it's rubbish. Like, it's absolutely awful. It seems to tear really easy. It doesn't stretch so well, and it's not sticky either. It's terrible stuff. So we went away from that, and we actually got this light green stuff. and that's the that's Contessa Bale pack, and actually that's really good. And these long tails, you get that from using the dark green stuff. If you just use the light stuff, you don't get that at all. So these long tails, I'm blaming on the dark green stuff. All the dark green bales last year had them, and it was just irritating because they're getting all the mud throughout the winter. They're all over the yard, and you spend all winter just covered in mud picking them up. So that's why we moved away from it. Get that Contessa stuff though, really good. And there we have it, last of the humbug bales all tidied up, which is good news. You can see I'm just shutting the gates, you can see them behind me, loaded on the trailer, fit perfectly, which is good. I hate having to come back for like 2 or 3 bales, it's really annoying, but yeah, they fit good. Just now got the 40 odd acres back at home to go and clear, and I think there's about 260, I think, if I remember correctly. But they actually surprised me, because that's a GS4 mixed species sward on our stewardship, and we have to keep that shut up as part of the stewardship option. You have to shut it for 5 weeks to let it flower, so let all the clover come into flower so the bees can get around it and all that kind of thing. So we actually grazed it early on in the year when we got all the cows at home before the TB test, and then shut it up for 5, maybe 6 weeks. Oh, I think it was just 6 weeks, and then mowed it again, and it still did like 6.5 bales to the acre or whatever it was, which with that McHale baler is quite impressive, because it puts a lot of stuff in a bale, sorry. So yeah, well chuffed with that, considering it's had no fertilizer either, because we can't put fertilizer on that, so that's why it's got so much clover in there. So yeah, pretty impressive. It's done really well. So I'll take these back to the yard now. Dad will unload them and stack them with the fork truck, and then yeah, about time to knock off for today, which would be quite nice. So we're back in the yard now, and as you can see, like, we're stacking them all at the top of the yard here. So you got all the humbug bales that we've been moving there, that's all in one line, and at the end we've got the herbal lay bales that we made earlier in the year. They actually go a bit further back, and then there's the alternate humbug bales, so they're the other way around. They're the light green, dark green bales there. And what we're going to do is the ones we've got to bring in from the 40 acre will go along here, and we can start and draw at them from that end in the winter, so we can take whatever bales we want, because these light green bales will be for the young stock, and the other ones are more sort of cow silage. So that's how we're going to do it, and hopefully then we should be able to access all the bales all the time throughout the winter and use them accordingly. So we should be pretty full up here though, I'd imagine, once we've got those other 40 acre bales in here. Just walking the dogs along the top roadway, and I thought, you know what, I should probably point out what's going on behind me here. So we've got the stabilizers and the heifers in one group with the stabilizer bull, and we've turned them onto the herbal lay field. Now you'll remember this field because we mowed it when we had the rake. So about 5 weeks ago this was actually mowed, and it has grown back incredibly well. Now this hasn't had any fertilizer whatsoever. It's obviously full of chicory and plantain, as you can see, and actually over that side you'll see where we've had them the day before. So they're having about 1 hectare at once, but it's about a day and a half's worth of grazing. It's very difficult to actually plate meter this because of the chicory and the plantain and all the stalky stuff that's in it, but we're just kind of going by eye on this one. But to get them to graze the chicory and plantain, we've had to sort of hit that first paddock a little bit harder to get them to realise that they can eat it, because it's a little bit bitter. They kind of try and leave it a little bit to start off with, and they eat all the clovers and the grasses because they're a bit sweeter. But once they get going, they'll eat all of it, and you can see they're so content on here. It's amazes me how well this stuff grows, because it's been so dry. We've not had any rain particularly. I know it's rained last night, so you probably look at me going, it looks like it's wet, but yeah, it is. It's rained last night. We've not had any particular rain for about 5 weeks since we actually mowed this, so it's amazing the speed of the regrowth, and we've had to turn them onto this and bring it into the rotation, because some of the other grassland is just not doing it. It's just not producing the grass that we'd like, just because it's so dry, to be quite honest. It's burning up. So I thought I'd just point it out, because you probably see them in the back of a video somewhere and think, oh, what's going on there? So yeah, they seem pretty happy though, don't they? Now, before we sign off for another week, I just wanted to talk about 2 things. Firstly, a guy called Robert Higgins asked me how I was getting on with the undersown herbal lays and red clovers that we put under the arable silage earlier in the year. I am going to do a video on that, either standalone video or I'll work it into another video. I just haven't been down there this week to actually do anything with it. And secondly, I'd like to apologise for any abrupt music in this video, because the app that I use for editing has had an update, and it's made some things really, really good and work really well. But for some reason, the music, you can normally add a fade to the end, so it naturally fades out even if you're in the middle of a song. And it hasn't worked this week. It's just like on and off. and it seems really loud, and I've tried to like dial it back a bit, and I've tried to use the ends of music to sort of fade it naturally, but it's just been a bit of a nightmare. So I do apologize. It might be a bit like that until they sort of sort it out. Hopefully they will get to it pretty quickly. So yeah, sorry about that. And with all that said and done, that is it for another video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please give me a like and a subscribe, and remember to let me know how you're feeling out of 10 in the comments down below. Now, if there is anything like Robert that you want to see in the videos, please let me know. If there's anything you want me to recap, or you know, have a look back over, always happy to hear from you. So just let me know, stick whatever it is down in the comments. Happy to talk to you. I think it's going to be a decent weekend. Kate's on her hen do, so I'm sure she's going to have a great time. Me and Barley are alone, so we've got a busy weekend of working. And yeah, have a good one, whatever you are doing, and I'll see you all on the other side. Bye.